And I have new reporting about an issue that's going to play potentially a major role in his decision, and that is the issue of abortion. According to
that people have access to the health care they need, and that they have access to health care in an environment where they are treated with dignity and respect.
To defend the right of every child, born and unborn, to fulfill their God-given potential.
Abortion fills the political world today. It is a common practice and an even more common debate. It divides dinner tables across our country and is going to be one of the deciding factors in our upcoming elections. But if we take a deeper look into where this all started, we can see that its original conflicts were very different from the ones today. When researching abortion in early America, one will frequently come across a name, Dr. Horatio Robinson Storer. Storer was a physician and anti-abortion activist in the age of Reconstruction, who single-handedly led the fight to criminalize abortion and instigated the changes of laws that lasted over 100 years, until 1973. Horatio Robinson Storer caused a major turning point in our history by prompting the criminalization of abortion and limiting women's rights. In the years following the Civil War, the South was in ruin. The need for new developments in science, technology, and medicine began to rise, leading to the Second Industrial Revolution. Storer's father, Dr. David Humphrey Storer, was a well-known doctor and medical professor at Harvard Medical School. Like his father, Storer pursued an elite education at Harvard University, where he graduated with his bachelor degree in 1850. He then studied medicine as an apprentice to his father, and earned his medical degree from Harvard Medical School in 1853. Storer began practicing obstetrics and gynecology, as well as becoming a lecturer at Harvard Medical School. He was one of the first doctors to recognize obstetrics as a subject different from gynecology. Prior to the Civil War era, abortion was a common and socially acceptable practice. In fact, it was frequently utilized to minimize the risks involved in pregnancy and childbirth, and a how-to on home abortions was published in a math textbook written by one of our country's founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin.
Indigenous people had been performing all manner of healthcare, abortions, helping people carry pregnancies to terms. The Pilgrims were performing abortions.
I think that honestly, abortion has been with us since the dawn of time, just as pregnancy has been with us.
In 1847, the American Medical Association, or the AMA, was established by a collective of white male doctors in order to gain credibility and ensure that all medical decisions were being made by professionals. In 1856, Storer took a prominent role in the AMA, which welcomed him and his newly formulated anti-abortion viewpoint. The foundation of his stance stemmed from attending one of his father's lectures at Harvard Medical School, calling for a ban on abortion at all stages of pregnancy. 2 years later, Storer created and led the Physicians' Crusade Against Abortion, and through the group produced a report suggesting the legislation needed to further criminalize the practice. This report was written by Storer and conveyed his belief that no matter the circumstance, all abortions were a criminal act, and anyone involved should be punished. Storer, writing on behalf of the AMA, said,
"The committee would advise that this body, representing as it does the physicians of the land, publicly express its abhorrence of the unnatural and rapidly increasing crime of abortion, that it avow its true nature as no simple offense against public morality and decency, no mere misdemeanor, no attempt upon the life of the mother, but the wanton and murderous destruction of her child."
In 1859, Storer wrote an essay titled On Criminal Abortion in America, which became the AMA's official stance on abortion. On Criminal Abortion in America argued that
The fetus, previous to quickening, as after it, must exist in one of two states, either death or life. The former cannot take place, nor can it ever exist, except as a finality. If, therefore, death has not taken place, and we can conceive no other state of the fetus, save one, that, namely life, must exist from the beginning.
Up until Storer, the widely accepted agreement was that quickening began when the mother felt the baby move. Storer's paper claimed that
If we have proved the existence of fetal life before quickening has taken place or can take place, we are compelled to believe unjustifiable abortion always a crime.
Storer's next step was to write a book called Why Not? A Book for Every Woman, published in 1866. It was written for doctors to give to patients who requested an abortion. Its purpose was to convince a woman to keep her child. In 1867, Storer published a companion book for Why Not? A Book for Every Woman, called Is It I? A Book for Every Man. This book was intended to teach men about the negatives of abortion and help them convince their wives not to get one. Both of these books were well received and widely distributed. Storer was also motivated by racial and nationalist values.
And so they connected a racist impact to that too, saying that white women needed to use their loins and go north, south, east, and west because of the potential browning of America.
In response to a decreased birth rate and an influx of immigrants, Storer said,
Shall these regions be filled by our own children or by those of aliens? This is a question our women must answer. Upon their loins depends the future destiny of the nation.
All of Storer's efforts began to pay off in 1860, when Connecticut was the first state to pass a law making abortion a crime and holding both the woman and the doctor responsible for breaking that law. The punishment for disobeying this was up to 5 years in prison and a $1,000 fine, which is equivalent to $30,000 today. States across the country began adopting similar laws. By 1880, all U.S. states and territories had laws restricting abortion, and by 1910, all states had laws not only restricting it, but making it illegal in all circumstances. The only exceptions were made in instances where the woman's life was in danger, a decision that only doctors, 95% of which were men at the time, had the authority to make. In the 52 years since Storer began his crusade to criminalize abortion, he achieved his goal. The aftermath of the crusade and abortion laws led to 63 years of lack of legal rights to necessary health care and a substantial toll on women's lives. Over the next several decades, abortions continued despite their illegality. According to Guttmacher Institute, in the U.S., the estimated number of abortions in the 1950s and 60s ranged from 200,000 to 1.2 million per year, all of which were in violation of the law.
The criminalization of abortion is going to lead to more women dying and a loss of life because of the fact that women who want to end a pregnancy are not deterred by it simply being illegal.
In 1930, abortion was listed as the official cause of death for almost 2,700 women, which was nearly 1/5 of all maternal deaths recorded that year. These are only the recorded numbers, though. The actual death rate was most likely much higher. In 1973, the Supreme Court legalized abortion within the first 2 months of pregnancy. This case was called Roe v. Wade and gave women the constitutional right to an abortion. Front Public Health says, the decision reduced maternal mortality rates by 30 to 40% for people of color by securing access to safe and legal abortions. In 2022, Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court, making abortion a statewide decision instead of a constitutionally protected procedure, which returned many states in our nation to Storer's original vision. Abortion will be an issue in America for many more generations. The question of whether to give women the right to choose for themselves or leave it up to the lawmakers is a major conflict without a common resolution. The way Horatio Robinson Storer fought to criminalize a woman's right to safe healthcare persists, because 102 years past his death, his crusade continues. Storer's legacy will live on in the world as we fight for what we believe is right. No matter if you are pro-life or pro-choice, Horatio Robinson Storer changed the way you see abortion today. Without him, there may be no argument. He changed abortion rights by instigating the criminalization of abortion and changing a woman's right to choose safe health care.